Hello and welcome to a short feature video regarding Colleagues Outlook add-in. This is specifically covering the guidance of use when sending bulk emails. The reason for the video is essentially as Microsoft Outlook is a third-party applications colleague which can be configured or updated to disable the colleague add-in. There are recommendations for its use when bulk mailing to ensure that it functions as expected. What we'll do in this video is demonstrate the steps that you should take to confirm that the add-in has been installed and set up correctly. We'll go through the user permission settings available within Colleague. And then we'll go through the recommended use of the add-in, covering the privacy feature and the delayed delivery option. Okay, so the first thing we need to check when looking at the Colleague add-in is obviously the presence of the Colleague tab itself when within Outlook. So obviously we're in Outlook here, the add-in's been installed, so Colleague you can see there is available as a tab. You also have an About option that's within the tab, and obviously on pressing the About button it will open up a window here, and the key component here is that the status of it is that it's a compatible version which is running. You'll get the database details and you'll get the main application versioning, but the key component here is that you've got a compatible version and then it's running successfully. If that is not the case, or if there are any issues actually viewing the Colleague add-in, there are some steps that you can take here to just check on where that stands. So the first point is to look at slow or disable COM add-ins. Now Colleague may be in there as a slow add-in because of the number of seconds it can take to extract data from the system to and fro as parting, but it should be enabled. So if you see it that the Colleague add-in within here, that can be or that will be correct, but the key component here is that it's not disabled. So you've got an option here for disable this add-in, which means it is enabled. If it was there to specify that you need to enable it, then you'd need to click on that button to enable it. If it's actually not within that area, then the next step along is to go within the options area. And look at your add-ins within here. So within here you have the different add-ins that you have installed against your Outlook area, and if we go to manage COM add-ins and hit go, again you can see the Colleague add-in is in there as well, and you just need to make sure that that's been ticked, and if it's been ticked then obviously it'll be present, and all other add-ins are obviously within here as well, but the key component obviously that we're focusing on is the Colleague Outlook add-in, and that is ticked. Also as a point of note, obviously when generating an email, the Colleague add-in will ensure that there is a Colleague tab to your email. So when you're looking at your email, you'll have a Colleague tab here, and all of these fields should be landable, and they should populate or be responsive to mouse over. So if this is all grayed out, then that's another sign that the Colleague add-in, for whatever reason, has been disabled and needs to be re-enabled again. So that covers the basics in terms of the setup of the add-in, in terms of what steps you could take to determine that the add-in is set up correctly on your system. What we'll do now is go over to Colleague and just look at some of the user permission settings before going through the actual sending of a mailer itself. Okay, so we're now within Colleague, and what we're going to go to is the global settings area, just to look at two specific settings which relate to the add-in. One within user group permissions here. You have obviously the various different entities that relate to different permissions, authorizing a user to be able to do certain things. What we're specifically looking at is the Outlook integration entity within here, and the different functions that allows you. And you've got two functions essentially. One is recipient privacy, and the other one is create history on send. And essentially what you want to do is ensure that users, depending on your preference, but ensure that this privacy option is essentially grayed out to all users that you want to ensure will always have this privacy mindset when sending a bulk email. If you want to offer the option of being able to edit that field, then the recipient privacy will need to be set to full access for anyone within that user group. With the create history on send, again that's the same principle. This tick box of create on send can either be landable or non-landable based on that setting being allowing access or being read-only. So those are two specific settings relating to ensuring that the history is created when sending an email using the add-in, and also that the privacy setting, which will split up each email address within the to field, has been enabled and hasn't been altered by the user. So those are two settings to be mindful of with regards to user group permissions. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go through the process of sending a bulk mailer using the Outlook add-in and cover the suggested way in which you would go about doing that. So I'll start by opening up a search result just for the purposes of this demonstration. So there's a small list of records here, and obviously by highlighting those records and hitting email from the search result, it's going to generate an email within Outlook with those email addresses pulled across into the to field. So as mentioned before, we obviously have the colleague tab here, and what we want to do is ensure that this isn't grayed out, ensure that the privacy option has been ticked. Obviously for this user, the privacy option privilege is on read-only, so that's not a field that I can edit, but obviously this is a setting I could adjust. Now what we would do is incorporate, or what I will do is incorporate a merge field just to help demonstrate the next step along. So we'll do the DIN known as, so this is a test email. Ask David there, and then we'll just give it a test subject. Okay, so for actually sending the email, what we want to do is utilize a feature called delay delivery. And what that will do is it will essentially put a postponed sending on the actual email going out the door, but it will process the email in terms of the privacy setting and the use of the merge fields. So it will pull through in data into the merge fields, and it will separate out all of the email addresses into their own individual emails. And what you can then do is check your outbox to see that that email has worked perfectly. So what we'll do now is we'll go through the process of sending. Obviously, when using the Outlook add-in for the first time, and specifically relating to the privacy feature, you do get this warning message relating to what the privacy setting is doing in terms of it dividing up those email addresses, so that users are aware. Obviously, we half expect that a user would tick the do not show this warning message again, and then you wouldn't be able to see that moving forwards. But that warning message is also there just to verify that the privacy setting is on. So we hit OK, and obviously those emails have now gone into the outbox. So if you now go into Outlook and obviously go to the outbox, what we can do is just check that those emails have been divided up as we wanted them to. And if we open up an email, we'll be able to see that obviously the merge field has gone through as well. So we can then choose to obviously send those emails just from there, or we can obviously let that delay delivery play out in terms of the time that you ask for the email to be sent based on the setting that you applied. So that's just the suggested mechanism that we would recommend as part of sending a bulk mail. And if you have any questions on that, obviously you can contact the support team for further information. The contents of this video have been documented into a PDF, which will also be available to download via the video description. There is also a general help video as well, which will go through all of the add-in features, and an accompanying PDF to that video as well. Hopefully this has helped clarify the steps to take when sending a bulk email. If you have any queries, as always, please feel free to contact the support team. Thanks for watching.